Arctic Star Exploration, operated by a team of proven mine finders, is focused on diamonds in Finland and the Northwest Territories of Canada. A work program is planned for our Finland property that contains diamond-bearing kimberlite. Arctic Star trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol ADD, and the Frankfurt Exchange, symbol 82A1. Please visit our website at arcticstar.ca or call us at 604-689-1799.
You're listening to HowStreet.com radio, available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. Welcome to HowStreet.com radio, the online source for market opinions. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Sean Brodrick. He's senior editor at WeissRatings.com. Welcome back to the show.
Thanks very much for having me on.
All these tariffs now, are we into a trade war between China and the U.S.?
I have been telling my subscribers yes. However, it could end with the president's next tweet. That's what they have to understand. So we are slowly moving toward this. By the end of this week, we should have the list of tariffs that the U.S. wants to put on China. And then the following Monday, we'll have the actions China will take against the U.S. in response. Now, new tariffs do not go into effect immediately. There's a comment period during which they can be changed and stuff. I think that lasts like 30 days. And so they'll have time to work things out and stuff, but it does look like we will see new tariffs put in place. Now, that said, and I know many people are free traders, and I don't like tariffs either, but China has been a bad actor in this, and so you can see why the Trump administration really wants to act on this. China has been stealing U.S. intellectual property blind. They've just been either they purchase companies and then they take the technology, ship it over there. That's a nice way to do it. They also hack into all the computer systems of all the big defense companies and they just steal it that way. They do a lot of bad stuff. And so something has to be done. Is this the right thing to do? I don't know. I mean, once you start pulling the threads on this big ball of yarn, it's really hard to know what will unravel. But they have to do something, and so this is what they are going to try and do, and we'll see how it works out.
I've heard China will specifically target industries where the people involved in those industries are Trump supporters.
I don't see how that's entirely possible. One thing I can tell you is I put a list together for my readers, which is coming out today at the Edelsoninstitute.com, and I listed the top 5 members of the S&P 500 that get a huge amount of revenue from China, and it's mostly chip stocks, as a matter of fact. Micron and all those large companies like that. They sell lots of chips to China for all sorts of reasons, and so if I was China and I wanted to hit America where it hurts, I would target those companies. Now, we don't know what they'll do. That's the thing. And that's one reason why investors get so scared, though that's only one of the things scaring the market this week. We'll have to get into the other stuff later. But so that's, it's all that uncertainty. It's just weighing on the market. People don't know what to do. They see stocks they want to buy, and yet they don't know if some kind of action by one government or the other will change the reason for buying it next week. It becomes very difficult to invest in this environment.
Also, Europe will be looking at countervailing duties, I would think, because their steel and aluminum imports into the States are going to be taxed.
Actually, we gave almost all of Europe a free pass on the whole steel and aluminum thing, so I don't think they'll be that upset. Someone who is, by the way, is Ontario. You may have heard of them. They are putting up retaliatory tariffs against some kind of steel thing. So it's like stuff coming in from New York State specifically is what they're slapping tariffs on. Now, there are workarounds for all these companies and stuff like that. But as a capitalist, you don't want to see trade barriers rising. That's usually not a good environment. And again, I can't emphasize this enough. This can all end with the president's next tweet. It's a very unstable environment don't think just because we're on this course, we have to stay on this course. We can go off in a right angle direction at any moment. But the way things are going now, we are headed for higher tariffs, more trade disputes, potentially even a trade war.
Well, wouldn't somebody say the amount of tariffs going on now is a trade war?
Yeah, well, no. I mean, things are pretty low. There are a bunch of things people call a trade war, and I touch on this on my article a little bit. One is the huge trade deficit that the U.S. has with China. I mean, last year we ran a $566 billion trade deficit, which is a big one. That's for the whole world. But in China alone, it was like $347 billion. And so that's the kind of thing that gets people upset. But then you have other people coming out and saying, okay, we can see this as a problem. What you're proposing here is not the way to handle it. So, are they doing the right thing? We don't know. I mean, I've seen President Trump defy conventional wisdom time after time and win. Maybe he'll do the same thing this time. So, we'll just have to see how it actually plays out. It is a time of rising uncertainty in the market, and I think people should invest that way. Just with the idea that there aren't any sure bets in the market. They should hedge some things. They should be careful because of all this uncertainty in the market.
We'll have more with Sean Brodrick right after the break.
Avon Resources Limited is a gold exploration company with significant projects in British Columbia, Saskatchewan, and the Yukon. Trading on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol ABN, and the pink symbol ABN-AF. Surrounded by world-class gold deposits and mines, Avon's 23,000 hectares Forest Kerr Gold Project is located in the heart of the Golden Triangle in northwestern BC. For more information, visit us at avonresources.com.
I'm Greg Johnston, CEO of Carl Data Solutions, an industrial Internet of Things company that provides big data solutions for monitoring critical infrastructure. Carl Data offers machine learning and predictive analytics features through our cloud-based applications to deliver key asset-saving operational insights from massive amounts of data. Carl Data trades on the CSE symbol CRL and the pink symbol CDTAF. For more details on Carl Data, please visit carlsolutions.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Sean Brodrick. Sean, apart from China and trade with the U.S., Trump also seems to have something against Amazon.
He sure does, because Jeff Bezos, who's the primary figure at Amazon, also is an owner of the Washington Post, and the Washington Post keeps printing stories that President Trump doesn't like. Now, whether you believe the stories are true or not does not really matter. President Trump hates them, and he hates Jeff Bezos, I guess by association, and he hates Amazon by association. So now he's going on and on about how Amazon is like using, or I should say misusing, the post office. They're just using the post office the way the laws are written. If you don't like how that's being done, change the laws. That's the easiest thing to do. But, that does not seem to be what's going on. Instead, we're having a full-out flame war on Twitter, which is moving around one of the big companies in America, and not just Amazon. Other big members of the FANG stocks, as they're called, are also being moved around by this, just as a guilt by association kind of thing. And many people found them pricey. Maybe they were looking for a reason to sell. And so you're seeing those things sold hard. That's why we had the massive move down on Monday. As you and I talk right now, we're seeing the market try and bounce. I find it kind of a weak bounce, but you never know. I mean, it's hard to predict where the market will be at the end of the day, and certainly very hard to predict at the end of the week. But it can't be helping Amazon's share price to have President Trump blasting it all the time. And if I was a shareholder of Amazon, I might be rather ticked off about it, and I might consider legal action. So we'll have to see how this plays out. Certainly it's unusual. It's unusual to see the President of the United States blasting one of the big companies in America, but here you are. Here I should say we are in a whole new world, and sometimes things just work out this way.
Is it true the Nasdaq has lost all the gains it made this year?
At the end of yesterday, it had, and so that is that was kind of problematic. Will it gain them back by the end of the week? Who can say? But yes, it had lost all the gains it had made this year. Not since the election, by the way. And so, which is the thing that the Trump supporters are holding on to. So what they're saying is, well, the market was due for a correction anyway, and here you go. And like everybody was always just complaining, oh, I don't have a correction so I can buy. Well, now you have your correction. Now's your time to buy. That's their view. My view, as I explained, is I think it's a time of rising uncertainty, and you need to hedge your bets. And in fact, I should say, that's one thing people have been doing. That's why we've seen the good, positive action in things like gold recently, because people have been hedging their bets by just purchasing the ultimate safe harbor, which is gold. They don't know what's going on with the market, so they're taking some money out and they're putting it in gold.
The price of gold hasn't really changed all that much, has it?
Well, it depends on your time frame, right? I mean, in the first 3 months of the year, gold prices rose 2%, but boy, was that a rocky up and down zigzag. It seems like we didn't make any progress, and yet if you were just buying the dips and then selling the rips, you could have done okay. It all depends on like how you are really looking at things. And in the last week, I've had lots of friends in the industry sending me all these messages saying gold's about to move. Look at this; it's really positive and all this stuff. And at this point, gold isn't one of the things I'm buying because I own plenty of it. I'm waiting to see what happens. There is a risk to gold, and this actually ties into the U.S. dollar, so I'm not sure how long you want the segment to go, but let me explain this, okay? Now, I told you that gold prices rose 2% in the first 3 months of the year. Okay, at the same time, real 10-year rates rose 22%. And so that's the risk to gold in this, is that rates will rise and keep rising so fast. They're rising faster than gold is now, that at some point people will not see gold as a viable alternative to just putting your money in these treasury notes. Maybe that's the risk that kind of hangs over the market, and that's why maybe every big rally is actually sold, is people are looking at that and saying, you know what, I don't know if I want to go, if I really want to own gold right now, because I think treasuries may be safer, and you might think that. However, I have to bring up the other thing, which is that central banks around the world are now looking beyond the U.S. dollar to build up their currency reserves. In fact, the percentage of global reserves allocated to the U.S. dollar has dropped below 63%, and that is the lowest level since 2013. What are they putting it into? Well, some's going into the euro, maybe some's going into the yuan. Hard to say. It could be going into other things as well, but it's coming out of the dollar. That's for darn sure. So that's the risk, is that we have so much instability in the U.S. political system that people say, you know what, parking all that money in the U.S. dollar really isn't the smart thing to do. And if they don't think they need U.S. dollars, then they won't need treasuries either. So that's the two sides of risk on this seesaw right here. And so I'd be watching gold, treasuries, and the U.S. dollar very closely, because there's something going on in that market right now, and I'm not sure how that's going to work out.
We'll have more with Sean Brodrick right after this.
I'm Bill McWilliam, president of Cascadero Copper, CCD on the TSX Venture Exchange. Cesium is one of the world's rarest metals with a growing industrial demand. Drilling is underway on our Tehran property in Argentina to prove up a cesium resource. Cascadero's patent-pending leach process has the potential to make Cascadero the lowest cost supplier of cesium in the world. Visit our website, cascadero.com, or phone us at 604-924-5504.
Don't miss out. Stay informed. Receive the HowStreet.com weekly recap with thought-provoking podcasts, radio, and articles delivered to your inbox. Sign up for the HowStreet.com weekly recap on our homepage at HowStreet.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Sean Brodrick. Sean, what do you see happening with cryptocurrencies?
Boy, they just had their worst quarter ever. There's no way around that. Whether you like cryptocurrencies or not, terrible quarter. Terrible, and especially a terrible month. The last month was just brutal for all kinds of things, from Ethereum to Bitcoin to you name it. Now, what's going on there? I think that, there was a lot of, those are pure speculation anyway. It's not like you build real value in them. But obviously the speculation turned and people moved elsewhere. I think a lot of people are moving into real estate right now. I think it looks pretty good right now. So maybe that's part of it. Maybe it's, we keep hearing rumors that there'll be crackdowns by various governments around the world, though I have to tell you, most of those have not come to pass. But maybe that industry was so overhyped, some of the air has to come out. That doesn't mean there's not worthwhile things to buy in there. I know people that are making plans, making some adjustments, and planning on longer term, especially those currencies of only which a certain amount will be made. And so, therefore, they might have, some real investment potential in them. Now, here's the thing. With the cryptocurrencies, you have to balance that against how easy it is to do a transaction. For example, Bitcoin, it can take you 10 minutes to do a transaction. Ethereum, it can be a matter of seconds. So that would mean that if you're looking at it as a real currency, Ethereum might shine more than Bitcoin. But in the last month, what happened? Yeah, Bitcoin fell, but Ethereum cratered. It was just falling off the table. So obviously, there's a lot of moving parts in the cryptocurrency market. I don't claim to be a cryptocurrency expert. I have friends who are, and they're a little disappointed, I have to think, by the last quarter, but they're also the kind of people that will hold until the bitter end. So as long as cryptocurrencies have that core base of people who are always going to stay invested and hold on longer, the core cryptocurrencies should do okay. Some of the ones around the edges, that's where the shady characters operate. Everyone has to realize that. And the chances of some kind of rip-off going on there, that can really happen. So you have to be very careful. Had a really terrible first quarter. Some of my friends say, well, this really means that, things will improve for the rest of the year because of comparisons. But just because you think things should improve doesn't mean they have to. And if you want to look at any market that exemplifies that, let's talk about uranium. Because for 2 years now, people have been saying, well, uranium has to go up. And it hasn't. It hasn't gone up. So just because you think something should happen doesn't mean that it has to happen. And sometimes the market can remain irrational longer than you can remain solvent. And that's what we're seeing in the uranium market right now, which I think is incredibly underpriced. And when something real like that is really underpriced and has been for a long time, it makes me wonder what can happen in cryptocurrencies could put what's happening in uranium to shame. So I'm not really bullish or bearish on cryptocurrencies because, as I said, I'm not an expert and I'm not really giving my opinion on them. I'm only observing what's going on in there, and they had a terrible first quarter. That's pretty much it.
What's happening in the marijuana space?
Oh, boy, talk about a terrible month. They have just been falling down hard. Now, they're having a good day today, but just the trend is lower. If it's going to be a repeat of last year, they're not going to bottom until June. And I know most people don't want to hear that. I thought they were bottoming. I picked up some positions. I had to close out those positions because they were kind of moving against me. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. And so that seems to be what's going on in that space. It's a longer bottoming process. Now, again, if it repeats last year, it'll bottom early June and then rip into the end of the year. And there are positive things going on in the space right now. We have full recreational legalization coming on in Canada. That's a major thing. We are seeing some real winners shape up for things of cost, and there are like networks and all that stuff in the U.S., as a matter of fact. It's still not legal here, recreationally speaking, and the federal government keeps its boot pressed down on the neck of U.S. cannabis rather effectively. But you know that boot will lift eventually, and when it does, things will take off. It's just this year I would look for a rally in Canada by June, certainly, and that's what I would expect simply because we saw the same kind of thing last year, and things look more bullish now than they did last year.
Sean, thank you so much for chatting with us.
Thanks. It's always great. A real pleasure.
My guest has been Sean Brodrick, Senior Editor at WeissRatings.com. If you have any questions for Sean or any of our other guests, you can send them to info@howstreet.com. I'm Jim Goddard. Thanks for listening.
Comments made on HowStreet.com radio are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any matter whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. HowStreet.com radio is a production of HowStreet Media Incorporated.